My name is AFLO the poet.
Don't perpetuate dark imaginings. Smile with your heart. Be honest with yourself.
They say history repeats itself, but it actually never left. Being reprimanded or cursed for knowing my worth leaves a hollow in my chest.
So stay down if you're down with the white institution. We're black and we're brown and we are the revolution. Hello wonderful people, my name is AFLO the poet and I would like to introduce you to another episode of AFLO and the Poets. We will be using this space to uplift the voices of black people and people of colour, and each episode I'll be inviting another poetic creative to chat with me and to share their work with all of you. 2020 has been a rough ride for many, particularly for the black community. Black Lives Matter has picked up a lot of momentum this year, with many people promising they would be listening to black voices from now on. Here is your opportunity. Throughout history, we have used creative outlets as a way of healing ourselves while sharing our messages with the wider community. And that is exactly what AFLO and the Poets is all about. We hope you enjoy the show. For our first poetic offering, I have a little one called My Container. You contain me. 4 walls in one, you cup me from beneath and don't shelter me from the stars. You make me feel held as you hold me and let go. A hard exterior with soft, smooth edges, you are the structure that makes me feel safe. For when I am with you, I know I've come home. Enveloped in your warm embrace, the worries of the world dissolve and I slip into an alternate way of being. Pull me under and hold my breath, submerged in your depths, the voices in my mind go mute. We drown them out together and I emerge empowered. Cleansed and purified, you release me back to reality to face my fears. I really love baths. So Priss Nash, thank you so much for coming back again. It's lovely to have you.
No problem, thanks for having me back.
So Priss joined us for the first episode. Priss is a poet, rapper, musician, all around incredible woman and model. And again, I see a very familiar face, familiar body up there. So this week we have work from the incredible Kaya Allen Bevan. And Kaya is 17. She's a writer, an illustrator, a model, an actress, and an advocate for social justice.
Incredible.
But I love that what she does with her work is she focuses not only on the disparities and injustices when it comes to the black struggle, she also focuses on black excellence, and I think that really comes through in these pieces.
Oh, for sure, definitely.
I love that piece of you.
Thank you, I love it too. It's so cool.
The colours as well, it's like radiating your aura.
Yeah.
All that you are.
Thanks. I feel like an extra in a 70s movie when she sent me that. I loved it.
I do see it. Like, I can imagine you with aviators.
Bong, chicka, bong, bong.
When exactly did you get into poetry? Incredible Priss Nash poetry.
Haha. I got into it around like 13, 14. My sister did English lit in 6th form and would always like give me things that she found interesting. She knew I was a huge literature nerd, and it all just sort of stemmed from there. And then I started like writing poetry around like 16, but kept that to myself and never showed anyone because that was like my private little secret that I like to do. And then started performing it last year at International Women's Day, where I saw you perform for the first time.
That's where we met for the first time. I didn't actually meet you because I had to turn up late. But then we met properly a couple months later.
Yes, we did.
And I'm so thankful for that. But you were saying about how you used to write poetry and just keep it to yourself, and then only years later you started performing it. Do you think poetry has more of a function for individuals without sharing it?
I think so, yeah. For me, poetry was very much like my thing. It was like a cathartic, therapeutic release sort of process. That was the one way that I could articulate how I was feeling. I'm very bad at voicing how I feel and putting the words in order and trying to make sense. But in poetry, I can sort of sit and think and rearrange things the way that I want to and process it the way that I need to. And yeah, it's a very helpful / the healthiest coping mechanism that I have.
And like you said, just like being able to rearrange the words on the page and help it make more sense to you as you're trying to make sense of your own situation.
Yeah.
I think that's an incredible, powerful element of poetry.
Yeah, and I think the main reason that I started performing it is because I wanted to be understood a little bit better. Because I don't know about you, but like as a woman, as a black woman, people love to misunderstand you. And in poetry, that's just sort of how I can sort of convey how I'm feeling and let them know, this is where I'm actually coming from. This is what's going on in my head. This poem is called Trigger Word, and I wrote it at the start of this year where some intricacies happened at a place I was working, and it made me feel a certain type of way because I was labeled aggressive and intimidating when in fact I was depressed and suicidal. But as a black woman, you're not awarded the, the option to be seen as delicate and vulnerable. And, you know, you always have to be strong. You always have to have it together. Like, how dare you show any type of emotion that isn't strength? And yeah, this poem is pretty much just me writing about how I feel about all of those things, especially being labeled intimidating, because I find it so funny, because if you know me, I am just such an anxious person.
Anxious and sad.
Anxious and sad.
Not all the time.
Not all the time, but a good 80%. And when people say I'm intimidating, it's just like, where?
Yeah, yeah. They see your pain as anger all the time.
Yeah.
But so this is Trigger Word.
Said by the people who know me and the people who don't, that word never sits right with me. A microaggression that carries oppression, I always flinch when labeled as intimidating. Forced to shrink myself and rethink myself. No one else gets attacks like this when they're minding their business. Purposely misinterpret my sorrow for stones, amplifying that I'm alone in this battle of etiquette and professionalism. Drowning in a sea of ivory and being scolded for trying to swim. When you're the only black sheep, it seems impossible to win. It's so absurd to assume my mood because of the color of my skin, because I don't smile. Survive what I have and notice the muscles won't stretch for a while. When your everyday is working twice as hard, biting your tongue, treading lightly so you don't get persecuted or hung, constantly breaking your back for a system that is rigged against you, when no one wants to address the underlying issue. Like the empire, they don't talk about it, just point the finger at somebody else. Let me know how much you feel like censoring yourself. It's funny how much people fake admire strong black women, but when they see one, they don't want to treat her as human. Please, misunderstand me harder, serve the backhanded compliments faster, project your insecurities onto me. Doesn't that feel better, master? It's not personal, we just need you to dim your light so your confidence and demand for respect doesn't give others a fright. They say history repeats itself, but it actually never left. Being reprimanded or cursed for knowing my worth leaves a hollow in my chest. On every corner of the map, my face is a threat.
I'm quite sure your message resonates with a lot of black people and people of colour. The trope of being an angry black woman for just voicing yourself or voicing your opinion, let alone your pain, let alone actually being angry, it's an incredible thing that you have to try and break through, I guess, to try and make yourself heard.
Yeah, for like most of my life, I've shied away from the angry black woman trope and always made sure that I like watch my temper and how I interact with people and how I talk. But you just get labeled as it anyway sometimes, and now I'm sort of embracing that, just pretty much reclaiming it, because if you're a black woman living in 2020, there's a lot you'd be angry about too.
You've got every right to be angry, and you wear it well, sis. You wear it well. I love the line, project your insecurities onto me. Does that make you feel better, master? Can you tell me more about what you were saying with that line?
A lot of times in my life, like not just in workplaces, but literally since I was a kid and up until present day, a lot of people come up to me after knowing me for a while and say, you know, when I first met you, I was like really intimidated by you. And it stresses me out so much because I'm like, what is there to be intimidated by? And as life's gone on, I realized that the people that try to say that are either like jealous. No, not jealous, but like...
Maybe jealous.
I don't know, but it's very weird because I asked her to unpack it once, and I asked her, what is about me that makes me feel intimidating to you? And she said, because you're strong, because you know who you are, because you're confident in yourself. And I'm just like, so what about that's intimidating? And she said, well, for other people who aren't that's intimidating to them. And I'm just like, how is that my problem?
They're scared of your fire and your magic. And I think that has been a tool of the oppressor, to be scared of what you can't quite understand or can't quite fathom for centuries. But we're going to go to a little ad break now. Welcome back to AFLO and the Poets. We still have Priss Nash with us. So you have one more poem to share with us today.
Yes, I do. That poem is called Black Woman. It took me about 3 months to write it in total because it's very personal, and I had to tap into a lot of things to write it, and it was quite hard and very overwhelming at times, but quite proud of it because I cover a lot of topics and say a lot of things that need to be said, because I feel like still a lot of people lack, not the ability, but lack the desire to fully understand Black women. And in this poem, I wanted to convey that. And when I wrote it, I wrote Black woman, and I've replaced the vowel with an X because I am including all Black women, not just the cisgender ones. Why do you think we're angry? Black women are hurting. Our problems, demands, and healthcare they're deserting. 5 times more likely to die when birthing. What took you so long to finally start unearthing? The pain of misogynoir we've been enduring while we suffer and wait for you to start unlearning. The deep-seated patterns you scattered the earth in. We're demanding respect, and we're more than deserving. Black women deserve love without sacrifice, deserve to still breathe when they fail to signal at a traffic light, can present themselves as female without having to defend their right, should sleep in their homes without being murdered by the police at night, should be believed when we report abuse the first time. Instead, we fear of going missing, see our bodies in the headline, dying from saliva droplets of a hate crime, them closing the case thinking that no justice is justified, searching for change 25 years down the line when our daughters die from 13-foot tape around her face and eyes. Give us protection, we're way past the deadline, it's not a debate, Black women are worthy and should stay alive. It's always been Black women at the forefront of the movement, portrayed as teachers and martyrs but seldom treated human, exhorting us to soften our voices when we're bringing the news in. We don't have time to sweet talk you through the revolution. Why is it such a statement when we dare to be beautiful? Why is everyone so hell-bent on telling us to be humble? When we love ourselves out loud, it's a dreadful offense, like the only way we can exist is in martyrdom or the bottom of your nightmares. Subjected to hearing words like bitter and burnt to describe our features. As young as being in the playground, we're demonized as these creatures who are programmed to endure masses of hate, disrespect, and cold stares, immediately deemed as undesirable if we don't have 3B hair. Compelled to encounter the backhanded compliments sprinkled with racism presented as pearls. Wow, you're really pretty for a Black girl. Admire us with your chest or keep it moving and mind your business. There's no need for you to mention that you're attracted to one and think the rest of us are worthless. Respect all Black women, not just the ones you're attracted to, because the darker the berry, the sweeter the juice. Don't comment on how I love myself when I've had to overcome and tolerate years of abuse. And for my sisters who aren't cisgender, you are more than valid too. It's not your fault that this ugly world cannot see the beauty in you, for it was our own ancestors who bent the rules of gender before the binary became colonized. Spread far and wide through West African tribes, we were focused on energy, not anatomy, inhabiting twin souls symbolizing androgyny, blurring the lines in ways that made us feel free, rejoicing in the times before the world felt so damn entitled to our bodies. Why does every way we present ourselves have to be policed? Why is the dehumanization of Casta Semenya seen as necessary as she's denied the chance to compete? What is it about Black women that makes the world want to drown us in trans misogyny? How is it fair that we're constantly told to dim our light so that others can succeed? We're so tired of hiding the parts of ourselves that make us complete. Black women should be able to live without apology. Can you imagine how much a Black woman hurts? Being stripped bare and robbed of the riches we deserved, chastised when we show emotion while we're being burned, gaslit into oblivion, yet somehow assemble the strength to return. What is it about us that makes the world think we're invincible? I admit our constant resilience is admirable, yet it's nothing but a survival tactic in a world adamant to make us feel small. Do you really believe we have no feelings at all? What drives you to beat us down so relentlessly? Smile in our faces while lying through the teeth, push us down in the dirt in attempts to force our defeat, but disclaimer, we are one with the earth. In the words of the old proverb and Ibeyi, they tried to bury us, but didn't know we were seeds. Little do you know we have a sixth and seventh sense. The sixth is being discernment, the latter is being heaven sent. We can immediately tell when your gestures aren't genuine, so don't hold us hostage if we're not always welcoming. There is so much trauma that comes with melanin. We're protecting ourselves, for we know the mistreatment that accompanies our skin. We are the epitome of divine feminine, and that energy is not always delicate. Be prepared to see Black women in all the forms we're existing in. Striking, sensual, and not always palatable. We've been censoring ourselves for centuries. Nursing the children of our masters while creating herbal remedies. We are the monarchs of multitasking. Try to drown us in your spite, but I promise we will be dancing, for we know our magic is real and our excellence is everlasting. We grow gardens of ourselves every day in a world that literally spits in our faces. We are landscapes of love in its purest form. Sorrow may enjoy for our lives, but we find solace in the joy that comes in the morn as we mourn the versions of ourselves that had to die in order for us to survive, for the sisters that we lose every day due to hate crimes. And yes, we are strong Black women, but sometimes we just want to be alive Black women. We're constantly breaking our backs from holding the world up, but who is making space for us? Can we rest? We are tired Black women. Sometimes strong is a synonym for exhausted Black women. Everyone's quick to deem us as angry, but we're just depressed Black women. We're purposely misunderstood Black women. I didn't stutter when I said take a long, hard look at the anti-Blackness that resides within, because we're not always well received in your workplaces and buildings. We're lacking protection. Look at Brianna and Toyin. We're asking for compassion and emotional reparations because Black women are worth so much more than your fetishizations. We are worthy of opportunities where we shine and equal payment. We carry so much on top of our worldly frustrations. And how divine will be the day when we walk in liberation, dripping in gold and salvation. We are not a monolith, but we are a nation of unchained, unconfined, powerful Black women.
There was so much in that poem that I'm not even sure where to start. You really poured your heart and soul and everything into that, Priss.
Yeah, thank you. I tried to make it as relatable as possible, because as well as drawing from my own experiences and other cases that I've read and heard about, like, it's, like I said, like, we're not a monolith, but we are a nation. Like, we are not all the same. We all present ourselves in different ways, but we all have similar traits of the collective pain.
Yeah, no,
Black
you're
women
so
endure.
right.
Yeah.
You're so right.
This poem, I remember sometimes, like, I would be writing and I'd have so much to say, but I'm just reliving it as I'm writing it, and it's very hard to disconnect from it sometimes, and it does get quite a bit much. And
Puts you back in that painful place.
yeah, very much so.
Rather than a place where you can, like, reflect on it. You kind of need the distance between the pain to be able to write about it.
Yeah, hence it taking me like 3 months to write.
I mean, I think that's incredible for 3 months. Rome wasn't built in a day, babes.
Neither was Solange's A Seat at the Table.
There we go, there we go. I'm sure that took longer than 3 months, I should hope so.
7 years.
There we go. No, I really love that poem, and I look forward to like whatever you're coming up with next. Have you got plans, poetry wise?
Yes, for that poem in particular, I do.
Yeah.
I could tell you, but I'd have to kill you.
Okay, don't tell us then. Hopefully you might have a high death count if lots of people are watching, so don't tell anyone.
But yeah, I do plan to release a lot more poetry. I'm a musician as well, and like that's where my poetry and music are my two favorite things, which is why I love hip hop so much, because hip hop is just poetry with 808s. And
there we go.
I'd very much like to incorporate like music and poetry together, and I'm working on some very exciting things to do with that as well.
Awesome. I love that you said hip hop is poetry with 808 beats. Because I don't know if this has happened to you, but fairly often people say to me, oh, I thought I didn't like poetry, but I like your poems. I didn't think I liked poetry until I heard yours. I think it's just important to remember that there is no one way to do poetry.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I love so many different poets. I love Charles Bukowski and I love Maya Angelou, two very different styles, but also very impactful and still poetry. Like, it doesn't have to be one thing. Everyone expresses it the way that they feel, the way that makes them feel comfortable and free. And
exactly.
yeah, it's nice that we can reach other people with our work.
We can, and there's something for everyone. But I'm going to say goodbye to Priss Nash for this episode. You can find her at Priss Nash Poetry, and if you'd like to see more of the incredible Kaya's artwork, you can check her out at kaia.ab or at riseup.art on Instagram. Thank you so much for joining us for the second episode.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.